What's going on, frauds? You know what day it is. It is Fraud Check Friday. And I'm going to be giving you guys the biggest fraud checks in the UFC year 2024. I was going to do the worst fighters of the year. I recorded it. Wasn't really happy with it. Just got kind of burnt out. So I figured this was just a better topic to do. It makes more sense. And it's just the time to do it. So that's what I'm going to do. And if you disagree with that, well, you're added to the list. I'm fraud checking you right now. But yeah, you guys are welcome for this breathtaking content. With all that being said, I'm going to get straight into it. Let's start off with John Jones. But White Piece, John Jones is the GOAT, man. And he fought once this year and he won his fight. How is he one of the biggest frauds of the year, man? Dude, well, first off, he got fraud checked by the entire fan base, which I have been waiting years for. We finally rallied together and unanimously deemed him to be a fraud. Coming back against Stipe Miocic in the year 2024, when he hadn't gotten a win in like 5 years, and it's Francis Ngannou sloppy seconds. He has only beaten Francis Ngannou sloppy seconds at heavyweight, worse versions of themselves too. And, you know, we are expected to just sit here and guzzle the fucking Kool-Aid that Dana White is trying to just force into our mouths. He's trying to inject all this Kool-Aid into our systems. No, dude, I'm not drinking it. You know, you clowns might drink it. If you drink the John Jones Dana White Kool-Aid, you're a complete idiot, and you deserve no respect. And you are also a fraud. I'm fraud checking you right now. That performance was terrible, and he's ducking Tom Aspinall. He's not the real champ. He is a fraud. He is a fraud. He's not the real champ, so therefore he's fraud checked. Fraud checked by yours truly and the fan base. And Stipe. Stipe fraud checked him too. How are you gonna get at any moment pieced up by old man Stipe, a complete shell of himself? How? It just goes to show that Tom Aspinall would dust him, and he knows that. That's why he's pricing himself out of a fight with him. And that's why he is a fraud. Moving on to Mike Mallet. I believe this was the first fraud check of the year. I think he was like 11-1 going into this fight. Big hype in Canada, going up against Neil Magny, dominating Neil Magny, and then in the last minute, getting taken down and TKO'd by Neil Magny. Getting TKO'd by this Kenny Okoye lookalike when he's like, what, almost 40? Ultimate fraud check. He will never, ever recover from this. Those who get fraud checked by Neil Magny never recover. Ever. They will never be anything. And I say this respectfully, Mike Mallet, you are cooked. I think he came back and got one win this year against no one even knows who he is. I remember looking it up. I saw the guy's record and I looked at the stats. I did not watch this fight. I might have, but I forgot about it because it clearly wasn't important enough. Cooked. Fraud checked, and that's final. And then another major fraud check this year, Joe Pyfer got fraud checked by Jack Hermanson. And look, I was going to be generous and not include him on the list because, you know, Jack Hermanson is not to be slept on. But this guy was hyped up to have more power than Francis Ngannou, which was clearly just Dana White peddling more bullshit to try and bury Francis more. And for that reason alone, the fact that you're not knocking out Jack Hermanson just goes to show that you're a fraud. And that's really the end of it. And, you know, I do have faith that he will make something of himself in the middleweight division. But for now, your current standing is fraudulence. And I say that respectfully. And then we got Ian Cucciato Barry. And I hear again, but White Piece, he's 2-1 this year. And he took the Shavkat fight short notice. You can't count that against him. Yeah, I can, and I'm going to. I'm going to count all of it against him, actually. All of his performances this year were terrible. The Jeff Neal fight, I may stand alone on this. He didn't even win that fight. People are pointing out all of these imaginary significant strikes that he landed against Jeff Neal. He landed nothing of significance in that fight. Jeff Neal was the only one who did anything. I mean, yeah, he landed the very few significant strikes. If he's landing the more significant strikes and he's getting the control time on the cage, I'm counting that as a W. That's what it is. You know, he already landed the more significant strikes at the control time, then that outweighs anything that Ian Gary did. All he did was just prance around the cage like a fucking 14-year-old girl and didn't do shit. And he talked all that shit. He had the mugshot on his shirt, talking all that shit about Jeff Neal. And then when he saw him in person, he cowered like a bitch. Completely caved emotionally, as he always does because he spends his life in the corner. Talked all that shit to MVP, said that he was going to outstrike him, dominate him on the feet, got dominated on the feet. got taken down by MVP as well. And I don't care that he got MVP down in the first round and got his back and couldn't finish a rear naked choke. That's another thing, bro. People are hyping this guy up for on 2 occasions this year, 2 separate occasions. He gets his opponent down, has a rear naked choke locked in with Damian Maia and Charles Oliveira in his corner twice. Couldn't finish either of them. The most basic fundamental choke in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, couldn't finish it. Therefore, he's a fraud. Like, I'm so sick of the hype that this guy gets. I'm so sick of him glazing himself. Unlike me, this guy has zero humility. I was giving him some respect after the Shavkat fight. He took it short notice, and he had a competitive fight with him. But, it really just amounts to nothing at the end of the day. The fact that your best performance this year was you losing just goes to show that you are a fraud. And the more he glazes himself, the more I'm going to fraud check him. That's just what it is. This guy thinks that he's like the next big star. He thinks that people fly out from Ireland to watch him fight. This guy's a fraud. No one is doing that. No one wants to watch you fight, bro. All of your fights are fucking boring. When I'm having trouble sleeping, I just put on your fights. I'm getting knocked out instantly. That's the only people you're knocking out. You're knocking out the audience because we are all snoring. We are all in unison sleeping, getting the best sleep of our lives watching your trash-ass, boring-ass, unimpressive fights. And I say that respectfully. Let's move on to Michel Pereira. Look, I don't care that he got 2 fun submissions this year. 1 minute of cardio against Anthony Hernandez. Fraud. Since you only had 1 minute, you only get like 10 seconds of fraud checking from me. Moving on to Muhammad Makayev. 2-0 this year in the company. Or was it 3-0? Doesn't matter. Imagine being undefeated and still being a fraud. Imagine that. That's a different level of fraudulence. It's honestly impressive. That's the most impressive aspect of his career is that he is, 12-0, and he's still a fraud. Biggest fraud in flyweight history. Got cut from the UFC after winning. Only winning. That's how much of a fraud he is. Trash-ass, boring-ass fighter. I'm so happy he got cut. I want him back, though, just so Pantoja can bend him over his knee and spank him silly. But, right after that, he can get cut again. I want to see this man get brought back into the company in 2025 and then cut again, and for good. This guy is such a fraud. Hyped up the Manel Cap fight, talked so much shit, bro. Talked so much shit, hyped that fight up to no end. Dana White called the bluff. They were originally on the main card, and then they got buried into the early prelims, and rightfully so. Awful fight, and it's not Manel Cap's fault. He had a broken foot, and he still did better than you in that fight. You looked absolutely pathetic. And I say that respectfully. Moving on to Benoit Saint-Denis, 0-2 this year. Arguably the most detrimental fraud check of the year. This guy had so much hype, bro. There were so many people saying that he was the one to beat Islam Makhachev. Everyone was trying to tell me that this guy had it. No. You would simply be mistaken if you thought otherwise. Imagine thinking that this guy stood a chance against Islam Makhachev, bro. That could have never been me. I've always believed that Paddy Pimblett would dog this guy. It's really sad what happened to him. I mean, all this guy really had to do to beat Dustin Poirier was take a shower. If he would have taken a shower, he could have, like I said, he could have avoided the staph infection. He could have avoided that crater on his dome, and he could have avoided the antibiotics, and he could have cruised his way to a Dustin Poirier victory. But no, got knocked out in the goofiest way possible. Very pathetic. Very, very sad, very pathetic. And then to just get washed like that, utterly washed by Renato Moicano. In all respect to Renato Moicano and Dustin Poirier, at least he lost to elite competition, but he just had all that hype. So therefore, him getting beat that badly this year, if I'm being objective, which I always am, definition of fraud checking. So I'm sorry, Benoit Saint-Denis. I hope you can turn it around, but I'm afraid you're cooked. You're not getting anywhere in the lightweight division if you're grappling like that. Sorry. Robelis Despain, complete fraud, bro. Complete and utter fraud. Knocked out some fat, hairy nobody, and people thought he was hot shit. Dana White thought he was cooking, trying to get a Francis Ngannou replacement. Dude has the grappling of Cyril Gane, but worse somehow. Has never even heard of an underhook. If his corner was telling him to fish for underhooks, you would just see question marks popping up above his head. This guy's got no idea what the fucking underhook is. This guy has the worst defensive grappling I have ever seen in my life. Absolute garbage. Got wet blanketed by Waldo Cortez Acosta and Austin Lane, the guy who thinks he's Bilal Muhammad. Complete joke. Got brought into the UFC and then cut within the same year, and well-deserved. Complete fraud, respectfully. Chris Weidman. Look, man, it doesn't matter that he's been knocked out 8 times. People are coming around to understanding that this guy is a fraud. He's a piece of shit. This guy eye poked TKO Bruno Silva and tried to gaslight him and everyone into thinking that it wasn't a big deal. You know, just downplaying the severity of him just fucking scratching out his corneas like a female. This guy sucks, bro. This guy completely sucks. He says that he's the best striker, best grappler, best at jiu-jitsu. This guy just says that he's across the board the most skilled at middleweight. Sir, you are literally the opposite. You are the worst in all aspects. You are trash. Your personality is shit. You know, that counts too. If you were a fraud as just a human being, you're fraud checked. I cannot stand Chris Weidman, bro. We all fraud checked you. You got fraud checked in the cage. Imagine getting Luke Rockholded by Eric Anders. Complete fraud, complete trash. Shame on you, Chris Weidman. Vitor Petrino, undefeated going into the Anthony Smith fight, got guillotined by Anthony Smith on the main card of a pay-per-view in 2024. Absolutely ridiculous and pathetic. I'm going to just say, I think that Vitor Petrino had money on Anthony Smith winning by submission. He gave him that guillotine. He even adjusted it for him. He was begging. He said, here, take my neck. Please take it. The only chance you have at winning this fight here, let me just give it to you on a silver platter. And for that reason, even if he did give it to him, well, I'm afraid that's even more fraudulent. So you either legitimately got fraud checked in the cage by being trash, or you just wanted to check, which I'm afraid is even more fraudulent. Either way, huge, massive fraud check this year. Complete garbage. Did he even get another win this year? Doesn't matter, because that alone makes you one of the biggest frauds. Moving on to Ikram Aliskerov. One fight this year, got knocked out cold by Robert Whittaker in a minute. After all the hype, bro, I remember Kenny Okoye was hyping up this clown to do anything to Robert Whittaker. It was just such a brilliant fraud check. It was such a satisfying fraud check. Any fraud check that makes Kenny Okoye upset makes me very happy. So I just had to include him on this list. Just like the length of that fight, I'm going to keep this one brief. Fraud checked. Cyril Gane, another one. This guy fights once a year now. You know, he thinks that he's like this big star, so he's over here filming Netflix movies that no one has ever heard of, that no one will ever watch. And then he comes back, thinks that shit is sweet, and gets dusted by Chad Alexander Volkov, as I said, and got a fraudulent scorecard on top of that. This guy's an all-around fraud. And it's honestly the fans' fault. There were people saying that this guy was like the future heavyweight GOAT, you know, best striker that the heavyweight division has ever seen, you know, the most elite heavyweight that the world has ever seen. Like, complete jokers. Put on your clown noses, boys. I never thought this. I always knew that that was a lie. And it's finally come to fruition. It's finally been, without a doubt, irrefutably proven that he is a fraud. And I say that respectfully. I don't even dislike Cyril Gane. I do find him annoying because Tom Aspinall was trying to fight him a couple years ago, trying to, you know, move up in the rankings, and Cyril Gane was just picking and choosing his matchups carefully. You know, he was clearly afraid that Tom Aspinall would dust him, which we all know that would happen now. And then as soon as Tom Aspinall gets the belt, now this man is clamoring for a fucking shot at his undisputed gold. Like, nah, this guy's a joke, bro. The French are assholes. And the last one I got here is Israel Fraud Adesanya. I mean, it's in the name, bro. It's literally in his name. 0-1 this year. No, 0-2 this year. Lost the race war. He lost the battle and lost the war. Dricus du Plessis showed to be far more African than he was. He outstruck him. He outgrappled him. He out-physiqued him. He out-auraed him. Dusted him on the mic. He proved without a shadow of a doubt that Israel Fraud Adesanya is one of the biggest frauds in middleweight history. And the fact that people say that this guy is arguably the middleweight GOAT just goes to guys, you are making him more fraudulent by saying this. This is why you need to stop with your bullshit narratives. I'm talking to you, Kenny Okoye. Just stop, bro. You're making it worse. And you were proven to be a fraud during this fight, too. And that's what makes this fraud check even sweeter. This was the sweetest, most delicious, most scrumptious, most satisfying, the sexiest fraud check of 2024. And that is simply not up for debate. That's just what it is, man. I had been waiting years, man. I put in my time as an avid Fraud Adesanya hater. I put in my time. I earned this. I deserved this. And I finally got what I deserved. I got to see Fraud Adesanya get knocked out, dominated on the feet twice, and submitted, bro. Like, I am on a different level of hype. I've reached a new level of greatness because I called all of these to a T. I said for years, this guy is going to get fraud check. And people are like, what do you mean, man? You got to give Izzy his credit, bro. Izzy's the best striker in the UFC, man. Izzy. Idiots. How do y'all sound now? How are your narratives looking now? They're looking cooked. All of your narratives are cooked. All Fraud Asanya fans got fraud checked. Fraud Asanya got fraud checked. I'm a happy man. This was a great year of fraud checking. Take a shot every time I've said fraud in this video, man. Y'all will die of alcohol poisoning. Don't do that. I'm just saying if you did, you would die of alcohol poisoning, except for me, because I'm the best alcoholic on MMA YouTube. No one inhales the bottles like I do. No one pounds the handles like me. I'm truly on a different level. I'm completely unaffected by all of it. And I am just on a different level of greatness when it comes to MMA YouTube. You guys are welcome for this breathtaking content. You guys are welcome for this humble, gracious, and charitable content. It was a pleasure delivering this masterpiece to you. It's a pleasure delivering all masterpieces to you. I will be seeing you clowns next week. I don't know what I'm giving you next week, but just know that it's going to be utter greatness as it always is. Go ahead and show support by liking, commenting, subscribing, sharing, hitting the notification bell, and well, you know the rest. Oh, yeah, and follow me on Twitter, by the way. I don't have enough followers on Twitter at WhitePeaceMMA. If you don't follow me on Twitter, you're a fraud and you hate quality. Goodbye.